Well, as the temperature warms up in the greenhouse, as spring approaches and those temperatures start to rise, we start to get a lot of activity of a certain plant pest. I'm talking about spider mites. They just get really prolific as those temperatures heat up. And we've talked about spider mites on our program in the past, but today I wanted to just let you get up close and personal with the spider mites and just talk about them a little bit more in detail. Spider mites we see out in our gardens, usually in the summertime on our tomatoes and a lot of the time on our marigolds, but they are actually not insects. Spider mites are arachnids. That means they're closely related to spiders and ticks and things like that. So they have 8 legs instead of 6. Now the classic spider mite damage is the stippling we see on leaves. And we've talked about this in the past, but I wanted to show you really close just kind of what that is. If you can see all the little dots, or it looks like little lighter colored areas on the foliage here, that's where the spider mites have done their damage. They have small needle-like mouth parts, and they will puncture the leaf and they will suck out the plant juices. They suck out the chlorophyll or that green material, and they leave those little white areas or those little lighter green areas on the leaf. And if there are a whole lot of those present, you sort of get this mosaic or all this stippling pattern on the foliage. If the spider mites are present in a lot of numbers, if you have a severe infestation, you can actually get webbing on your plants, kind of like spiders produce webs. Spider mites will produce a little bit of webbing as well, and we see the spider mites crawling around in that webbing. But not all spider mites, not all species of spider mites produce that webbing. So the thing to look for actually is the stippling. They can be doing this on the upper surface of the leaf, on the lower surface, and on the stems as well. Now, also on our program in the past, we've talked about the white paper test, where we take a sheet of white paper and we put it under a branch or a leaf of a plant that we think has spider mites, and we just kind of bump it a little bit until we see maybe some things start falling, and then we look for these little specks. And if any of those start to crawl away, they're most likely spider mites. Now, if your eyesight isn't the best, or maybe not as good as it used to be, it may be a little bit hard to see those little specks start crawling around. So I recommend just getting a magnifying glass or some sort of little hand lens and looking through that and seeing if you can see any of those little specks or any of those spider mites start to crawl away. In fact, you may be able just to take your magnifying glass and go to the plant and look it over, see if you see any of the webbing, see if you see any of the stippling, and you may be able to even see those spider mites moving around. Now, outdoors, a good way to control spider mites, or to at least lessen their numbers, is to take a pressure nozzle and a water hose and just blast the foliage of your plants. Now, you don't want to crank it up so high that you're tearing off the leaves and the tomatoes, but you want a good steady stream to knock those spider mites down, and they'll have to crawl back to the plant, and they usually die before they get back there. Now, with your house plants, you can take those into the bathroom where you have a shower or bathtub and put that foliage under a good steady stream of water, kind of knock those spider mites off that way. Now, if that doesn't work, you may have to resort to using some sort of pesticide. I like the safer type of products like the insect killing soap, and we just use that and douse the foliage of the plants. Make sure you read the label to make sure your plants are recommended to be treated with a particular pesticide that you use. And you also will probably have to do this once a week for about 2 or 3 weeks to get good control. So now maybe you're more familiar with spider mites and will be able to better look at the plants and see that stippling, see that webbing, or actually see those mites, and be sure to use your magnifying glass or your hand lens.